Judge, the main part of Ms. Phillips' defense is going to be something that Ms. Bluffo and I, if you remember, many, many years ago, we were one of the first people to do a case in Bibb County, and that was a Battered Women's Syndrome case. Ms. Phillips' situation, I would say, even more profound than that woman we represented many years ago. She is definitely has a very, very strong case to prove that she is a Battered Women's Syndrome patient. Shani Rose, who's present before the court today, has personally witnesses 4 to 5 physical instances where the deceased in this case, Mr. Martegus Johnson, I apologize, has assaulted Ms. Phillips. In addition, she's heard 12 instances over the phone where Mr. Johnson was physically assaulting my client when she was begging for help. But of greater import than that, I'm going to give the state for Ms. Malcor a DVD interview that we've done of a neighbor, no relationship to Ms. Phillips at all, who has witnessed 100 incidences of physical and mental abuse in the front yard of the Duncan Avenue home where she once shared with Mr. Johnson. One of those instances, Judge, she specifically knew that Ms. Phillips was pregnant and the same baby that she had since she was in custody, Judge. And this man was chasing Ms. Phillips with a brick, threatening to literally beat the fetus out of her body.
The defendant in this case, Tasha Phillips, was indicted by indictment number 14 CR 71057 on June 17, 2014. That is within the 90 days. She is not entitled to a bond under the 90-day rule. She should not get a bond. The state opposes bond. From what I've heard, at this point, it sounds like that there's not an issue over the fact that the defendant actually ran over the victim in this case, but that there will be some defense as to why that occurred. The victim was, after an examination of his body, he was observed fractures to the rear of the skull, his upper and lower right leg, lacerations to the upper right arm and right ankle, abrasions to the upper right side of his chest, back, and left shoulder. This was after being run over. There was a fight, as I understand it, that preceded this between the defendant and the victim in this case. And it was almost immediately before, and there was a witness to that who was in the vehicle. What I think that Your Honor needs to be aware of, though, is the circumstances immediately leading up to that. So the evidence the state believes will show that after this fight occurred, the victim and the witness to this, so there were 3 people in the car, got out and left. The defendant drove down the street to the post office, which was just a couple blocks away. The victim, and I don't know what reason for this, but walked in that direction. The defendant then drove, when she saw the victim, sped up, drove, the victim ran away from the vehicle and was run down by the defendant. Now, as further evidence of guilt or the mindset of guilt, there was a concealing of that vehicle that later occurred that led to the charge of, because we not only had the malice murder, but the tampering with evidence, where the vehicle was concealed and there was a whole plan to make it seem like she did not actually do it. It later turns out that the evidence shows that when there's not an issue with that she, in fact, did do this. Now, the facts, I think the state has, and by virtue of the indictment as well, has made its case in terms of the probable cause that the defendant, in fact, committed this crime, according to that standard. The other part related to the bond factors, which are most significant here, is whether the defendant is a significant risk to the community, to commit another felony, flight risk, intimidation of witnesses. We do believe that she's a significant danger to the community just based on the allegations that are before Your Honor. In addition to that, as far as the flight risk, and Ms. Gomez did allude to this, that we would bring this up. She had, well, on top of the charges that she now faces, and whether those are disputed or not, and those can be dealt with at the appropriate time, but she is also in jail on the RICO charge as well as the financial identity fraud. That is a big case in our office that Your Honor may be familiar with. We've had multiple defendants come through here on that case where money was being placed into inmates' accounts. And she is one of those defendants. She also has, although she does not have prior felony convictions, she does have convictions for shoplifting. Now, I would not normally bring this up in a case like this, but that when she was convicted of shoplifting in 2005, she just failed to comply with probation at all, and there had to be a warrant that was issued. And the other case of 2001, also shoplifting, this occurred in Virginia, and another misdemeanor shoplifting, where she fled from Virginia to Georgia while on bond, and a warrant had to be issued for that as well. So there is, by that alone, significant risk, and that is probably the primary concern that, and of course, protecting the community for Your Honor, that she will actually show up in court. Now, if she's going to flee the jurisdiction of one place because of a misdemeanor theft by shoplifting, what do you think she'll do for an indictment where she faces malice murder? That's the state's position. That's why we don't think that she is entitled to or should receive any bond at all. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Ms. Gomez?